Hi, everyone. I'm Ken Rakowski, and this is Sandy Grigsby. And every week we dive into what's going on when it comes from personal growth, personal branding, how to use the web properly, just how to become a better human being. Sandy has been on stages like Tony Robbins stage. I've seen you with video with Brendan Burchard. She has spoken all over the world on the idea of how to become a better human. Now, what's nice is, since she's a lady, she'll give us insights that most women won't tell us.
He means I'm going to tell you all the stuff that you guys are doing that women go, oh.
Yeah, and that's important. Today's topic is really around something that's so important while we're sitting in this downtime, and that is your personal brand. Yeah. How do you make sure your personal brand is changed? Because it's different than what it would have been maybe even last year. COVID has changed us in so many ways, and what a great opportunity to go look at what the experts are doing and ways for you to implement some of the new technologies and tools. For example, new thing I've learned this week is I wasn't a TikTok person, and I think I'm too old, but by accident, I posted something on Instagram Reels, which is their TikTok competitor, and I started trending.
Yeah, like lickety.
In the last 2 days, I'm trending on this platform of, how many millions of people.
Yeah, like in the first day, got like 10,000 views.
Instantly on one thing. And I'm starting to realize that there's deserts or oases out there that we're not touching. But as long as you know what your brand is, your personal brand, you could take advantage of these platforms. And that's what we're going to dive in today, is to understand what your personal brand is, how you could litmus test yourself, and so you can move forward. Now, again, you don't know what I'm doing. Meaning, I sat there and been listening to you. She has a whole course on this, and some super rock stars take it on a regular basis. And I've been listening, and I wanted to touch upon 10 different things I've heard you say, okay, that we can dive deeper into, okay?
All right.
Again, she has no idea what I'm doing. I'm doing this like out of a whim. She has she doesn't expect. And we looked at Oprah as a great personal branding individual. Do you agree?
Yeah, her brand's pretty
and it's
solid.
Changed.
It has.
It has changed over the decades, and we watch, or Taylor Swift. Yeah. Great personal brand. It's changed over the decades. She's grown up. She's modified her brand. She's enhanced her story. Now, I believe in this term called SPACE, S-P-A-C-E. It means you understand your story, your plan, who your army is, what your conversion is, and how you educate them over and over again. SPACE, S-P-A-C-E. Story, plan, army, conversion, education. Okay? Got it?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what I want to talk about. These, to me, are the golden rules when it comes to creating and engage personal brand.
Okay.
Okay, ready?
Yes.
The first one, have a focus.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, explain that.
So you have to know what well, I like to say intention. Go with intention. So know what exactly you're talking about and what you represent and how you define yourself. You have to know, because if you don't know, then you're just kind of meandering around doing whatever.
I'm actually going to take Rick, for example. Rick, I know you always introduce yourself as a photographer. And I challenged you on that on Saturday. Because a photographer takes pictures. You capture moments and then stories, and then you turn it into education, activism, you turn it into a whole bunch of narratives. A photographer just snaps something and they're done. You live on with that imagery. So I think calling yourself a photographer is extremely limiting. Maybe.
I agree.
So
I stopped calling myself a photographer a long time ago. When people go, oh, she's a photographer, I'm like, no, I'm not. That's just.
I like being a photographer. I just don't like being treated like one.
There you go. Bingo.
So, but how would you classify yourself then? Do you always put photographer down?
No, actually, because, Ken and Sandy, basically, now I'm a producer. So I'm sort of like the aging rock star. I don't get on stage anymore. Now I produce the young bands. So I pull together people with different talents, photographers and writers and filmmakers and programmers, and then get them to focus on different topics. So it's like being an orchestra conductor.
Yeah, right. But your focus, so having a focus. So Oprah would say at one point in time, she was a talk show host. She was a host. Now her focus is totally different. She's a philanthropist. She's an activist in a lot of ways. She's a storyteller. She's a community builder.
She's an educator.
Educator. So let me ask you, Stanley. Stanley, what is your focus? So if I would ask, and that's not what you do, is it?
No, not necessarily.
So
well, it's what you do with your life. It doesn't have to be your job.
It doesn't. So what is your focus, Stanley?
Okay, well, as an architect and designer, what I focus in on is creating environments that inspire and create a sense of community for people. And I stretch their envelope. I help them look at space differently and how space is more than just a place you live in. It's a place that, you know, it's a living organism and it becomes part of your brand.
So I get it as an architect, but you're not a typical traditional regular architect. You
Right.
take space and you make it living.
Right. Well, I take space and I for the sake of another word, and you're talking about branding, I brand it to the particular DNA of our client. So our spaces tend to look different, and people that wind up moving into them, whether they, you know, we do work for MTV and, you know, Universal Music, people like that. And what it does is it becomes, it makes them want to work more. You know, they feel it creates a sense of community for them. So I don't know.
You design and create authentically stylized environments for people?
I wouldn't say stylized. It's a space that's responsive to their particular needs. What we bring to the table are elements that go beyond their needs, but touches their, you know,
we're going to work on this.
Their spirit.
Stanley, we're going to work on this. We're all going to work on this. By the way, anyone want to throw a contribution out to Stanley?
Yeah.
Anyone? Anyone want to help Stanley out? We got to work on his focus a little more. The architect is great. By the way, it looks like an architectural pad, just FYI. I'm just saying. It's
like my studio up at home. Yeah.
Without a doubt.
One thing, I do have to leave by 8:35. I mean, by 1:35.
You can go anytime you want. We're just hanging, okay?
But I loved the other day, and I love your group. I love your energy.
Thanks a lot, Stanley. Okay, so our first one is have a focus. Next one is be genuine. When your personal brand, you can't fake it.
No.
You can't fake it. So I want to go to Brandon. Brandon, Brandon, your focus is creating educational, inspiring videos for entrepreneurs, right?
Damn, that was good.
Because
you must really like me.
No, that's what happens when you're very focused and you can articulate what you do in a short little blurb. Then people can remember and repeat it and resell it.
Because then that's, by the way, one of them is having other people tell your story. But that's it. So I know what you do because you do it consistently, regularly, and it's genuine. You don't fake that.
No, I think, I mean, just to add like genuine, I think authenticity, I think one mistake people make is that they don't share more kind of into their life and who they are as a person, because that's how we connect as humans, as human beings, like your belief system. And obviously you want to share what you do and how you help people, but also who are you as a person? And that's one thing I really like to do more of online.
Yeah, that's actually the biggest mistake I see people make is they don't share who they are authentically. So they put on a front of who they think the world needs to see them as. And I get this asked a lot by executives and CEOs. Well, in corporate America, I have to be this one thing. And then I hide my personal life on a hidden Facebook or a hidden Instagram or something like that. How do I fuse the two? Because I'm adventurous. I've got all these cool things that I do, but my corporate is so corporate.
Also, not everybody can relate with you. I guess to add too, like people on social media, it's like your highlight reel. It's like everything you've done, you're all a success. And the one thing I like people look at is, hey, like it's not all fun and games, like failure out there. I like to show the downside of things and how it's actually a good part of your journey. So show the parts of life that people don't talk about. And when you do that, we all have shit going on in life. We're more likely to connect with each other.
Yes. There's a friend of ours, Erica, who lives in Florida. She showed herself going to the gynecologist the other day. I'm going in to get a pap smear. But and everyone's going, oh my gosh. And then she started, I need to talk about what's going on with cervical cancer. And a lot of my friends have gone, and it started this incredible dialogue because she kept it real. And I think that's why people connected to Elon Musk. When Elon Musk smoked a big spliff on Joe Rogan's show, and he's hanging out, getting stoned and whacked out, everyone's going, he's a dude. I connect with Elon Musk. He's not the one, he's not the Tony Stark that we see in the movies that is untouchable. He's just like me. And I think that's why people love Elon Musk, because he's tangible. So you're right on. So be genuine, guys. I think faking it till you make it's kind of LA-ish, and don't do it. Be you and act strong and powerful. Right, Harak? As he's driving in his car. Right, there he is. Okay, so our first one was stay focused. Number 2 was be genuine. Here's number 3, and I go to Taylor Swift. And I love Taylor because she tells a story on what's going on with her pain and her issues. She tells a story, and she allows us to peek into her world. Now, I admire her because I think every girl should feel comfortable listening. Her mother or father should say, hey, go ahead and listen to Taylor Swift. She talks about the tribulations of being a young woman, and she tells the stories about what it's like to be with the wrong guy or the wrong friends or being backstabbed. She tells a story. How does a personal brand tell a story? How does your personal brand tell a story?
Well, there's a bunch of different ways that your personal brand can tell a story, in the way that you dress, the way that you speak, the way that you put your content out there, the message that you're sending, how you treat others. It's pretty much everything that you do.
Yeah, and that's actually one of them I realized, and that's live your brand. But I think that telling that story, you've done that. You went and told your story on your website about what you were trying to be that wasn't authentic and genuine to you.
Yeah.
And how you could not live in the skin that you were portraying because it wasn't natural.
Exactly. And another way that I do it is I try to, when I do videos and whatnot, I'll mess up, I'll say the wrong thing, I'll laugh at myself, and I tell people, you don't have to be perfect. It's just be who you are. I'm that girl that says the wrong thing at the wrong time pretty often, and everyone laughs. And then I laugh too because I'm like, whatever, it's funny. It's just how I am and who I am. So you just have to learn to just be yourself and not worry so much what other people think.
So again, gentlemen, we're talking about you working on your personal brand today. Personal brand, not your branding, because you can brand after you know your personal brand. So this is your personal brand right now. So this goes now. Focus, genuine, story, consistency.
Oh, yeah.
This is another situation that I noticed about you when it came to dress wear. So Sandy did something that's really interesting, and she teaches in her class, and that is she created a mood board all around what her colors are.
We actually did it on one of these calls.
We did it on one of these calls. She uses Pinterest, which actually works great.
Guys can do it too.
Guys have done it in the group. Like I'm looking at Rick. I'm wondering what Rick's colors are. I mean, he's got that hat on. It's that,
like,
that's kind of like I just gave up colors. That's what that is. He's got the hat on, the color. Sorry, Rick. Just give me shit, buddy.
It's fine. It's fine. I never thought of my colors, actually, but okay.
But they're important. You'd be surprised. I mean, every architect, he's up there, Stanley goes, that's one of the most crucial things is to understand the colors, the connection, how it all links to one another, the flow. We do that when it comes to our designs of our homes. We do that when it comes to even our cars. Like she likes white cars, period. That works with her brand. But most of us aren't consistent with our colors. So when Sandy and I started dating years ago, my closet went from being incredibly thick, all these clothes, to where they all disappeared.
Oh my God.
But there's a consistency of color flows amongst everything now.
His closet looks so beautiful now. It's all color coordinated, only the colors that work for Ken. Everything else is gone.
But you can speak up about the idea of why consistency throughout your brand is so important, because it doesn't confuse the people looking at it.
Well, you know, it goes with recognition. People, when they see you, they want to recognize you. You know what I'm talking about. You go somewhere, you meet someone, a few years go by, you see them again, you're like, they're like, hey, Ken. You're like, hey! Like, I don't remember this person at all. There was nothing recognizable about them. They didn't have a personal brand. They just were nothing. So you want to stand out. Like I actually like to refer to Gary Vaynerchuk. You guys all know who Gary Vaynerchuk is, right?
Yep, Gary V.
So if you look at his brand, how would you describe it?
startup, grungy. Yeah.
Very much so.
Flannels.
Very direct, New Yorker, black and white. It doesn't matter what, if you do a Google search of Gary Vaynerchuk, red, black, yellow,
Green,
white.
those greens.
And those are his primary colors. And he comes up with hoodies, jeans, t-shirts, and facial scruff. Even like the beanie cap. It is so consistent across all boards on a Google search, on his Instagram, on his personal website. If you look him up on other people's websites, it's super, super consistent. So if you were to run into Gary Vee on the street, you're going to know who he is instantly because you recognize all the elements that make up Gary Vee.
It's like RuPaul, who I bump into often. RuPaul on television is, you know, this incredible tranny. He's got all these flowing dresses. When you meet him in person, he's got a suit and tie on. He's very professional. It's like, what just happened? And you treat them differently. They're almost different characters. Actually, Ru's really cool. I like Ru. But I think the idea is, how do we make sure we stay consistent? I look at Michael right now. Michael, I'm guessing the button shirt is your MO, isn't it? The collared button shirt. Yeah, wait, let's get some sun. Let me hear you. Let me hear you. Come on, buddy. You're unmuted. Come on, unmute yourself. There you are.
Yes, you are correct.
And is that because it's easy, or is that because that's what you just love?
It's been my personal brand for 40 years.
Do brands need to change? Personal brand?
Sometimes it depends. Now you decided on the white or the collared button-up shirt because?
Couple reasons. A, it speaks to my personality, and it also is comfortable, and I always feel comfortable in it.
Any other reasons?
Probably.
Exactly. So if you've been in it for a while and you feel super comfortable in it, that's great. But I do encourage you to go onto Pinterest and start searching for other options because you seem to have been doing it for a long time. You might have something else brewing in the back of your mind that you haven't realized yet, and you can do that on Pinterest.
But if you notice, let's look at Michael, Brandon, Jacob, and Mike. What's consistent amongst those four guys?
They want to be Steve Jobs?
No, that's a turtleneck.
Yeah. No, he wears a black shirt.
Okay.
I know him. I met him.
I know you do.
Black t-shirt is his jam, all right?
That's his jam. And Brandon, you go black because it's just easy?
Yeah, I've done it for 2.5 years now. I wear a black t-shirt every single day, and when it's not hot, I'll wear black jeans. I have like 30 pairs of black jeans and 25 pairs of black shirts. I mean, it is branding. People know me for that. But also, I mean, personally, I really don't want to waste time thinking about what I'm going to wear. Now, when I do go on like a very special date night with my wife, I'll put on this blue button shirt and people see a picture of me and they're like, oh my God, Brandon, you're not wearing black. Like, it's so noticeable.
Exactly.
How about you, Jacob?
Black, white, and shades of blue usually, but it's easy right now. I'm in my house, but I have a couple kinds of styles. I grew up in Long Island in a very preppy neighborhood, so it was like polos and that kind of stuff, and khakis all the time. And since moving to LA, it's a lot more relaxed. So
yeah,
this maybe a blazer with black or a white t-shirt is pretty much.
Well, and your girlfriend dresses to the nines.
She does.
She dresses up big time. Remember, she did a photo session here. Yeah.
Yes.
So she dresses. Does she ever come down on you going, you wearing the same thing all the time?
No, because I have a lot of variations of it and a lot of nice sport coats. So it's usually like a black or white shirt and then a nice blazer or something like that. So there's plenty of variation, but still kind of consistent within the realm. And like I hate ties, so I don't do button downs anymore. I used to wear them all the time back in New York and college in Philly.
Yeah.
In an Ivy League school, you basically had to wear a button down. It was the uniform. So wherever I'm at, there's a uniform. Here's
a challenge. Do you guys want to dress differently? Like if it was comfort, my thing is I'm a comfort guy.
Yeah.
I like, if Crocs were kind of okay looking, I'd wear them all day, right? But they do look like laundry baskets on your feet, right?
But they're so comfortable. I'm not gonna lie.
Guys, Scott Page, who's in metal, who's from Pink Floyd, the band. He's from Pink Floyd. He wears Crocs. He's a rock and roller and he wears Crocs. So does Sammy Hagar. He wears Crocs.
You're so comfortable.
Yeah, but they're rock and rollers. It's horrible.
They seem to make them look cooler.
Oh my God. But if there's a way I could dress more comfortably, I would wear blazers and I would dress more preppy. I'm being serious, but
Yeah.
T-shirts and blazers. That's why I do that. I don't do button downs and blazers anymore. I just can't do it.
I would do a little more on the Michael side, a nice button shirt and a blazer. If I could, it was comfortable and convenient. It's not always comfortable and convenient. That's just me. Nitish, what do you like wearing?
I mean, I like wearing white t-shirts, what I'm wearing right now, because it's just comfortable when I'm at home. I like wearing a lot of American Apparel stuff. I got like 30 pairs of those gray t-shirts in blue and red. I'm just like the most like chilled out guy.
Well, let me ask you a question, Nitish. Are you dating anyone?
No, not at the moment.
That's probably why. Okay, let's move on. Just saying. Either you're dating someone, like you're in a relationship, or you're not. It's if you're in that dating mode, I'm going to tell you guys that white t-shirt thing starts to disappear. It just does. Well, why are you laughing, Tony? You don't agree?
Troy.
Oh, Troy, do you agree?
I would agree. Of course, but I always wear either a button shirt or a golf shirt. So
we're so simple. But you have to admit, if we look at this entire room right now, I would say Stanley is probably, like he's got a vest on. That's probably his normal wear and tear. That's what you normally wear, right, Stanley? That's your daily getup?
No, actually, I'm really into fashion. I like comme des garçons. I wear, like I'll spend a lot of money on a jacket that's ripped, in the front, the pieces, with a Basquiat shirt, because of the print. So, and this is a piece of jewelry I made myself.
That looks awesome.
And I took my Apple Watch and put in a piece of silver. So, can you see?
Yeah, that looks great.
Yeah, so, it's always, so everybody would wear black, right? But then I have a brown wristband because it doesn't fit. So I like my work is like that. I like to mix crazy things.
What's your creative?
So I never look the same each day.
You never look the same each day. I like that.
That makes sense.
How about you, Mike? Mike, what's your normal get up and go? Is that the black shirt?
It's usually black, but it's typically a black button down shirt with the buttons under the collar, so it makes it look like I have a neck a little bit. Black Barbados jeans, and give me a leather jacket or a sport coat, and I'm
so you're fashion. You are. You're hitting some fashion. You're not just doing the normal. I'm kind of lazy black shirt Brandon type style.
No, I mean I'm working at the house today, and sitting around. So, but I do have like of this shirt. I probably have at least 15. It's the I don't even forget brand, but it's a Carry Loha, which does incredibly comfortable, breathable shirts. I just order a dozen or so at a time. When I want my black button-down shirt, I have a tailor in Hong Kong who's got my measurements. Hey, I need 6 more shirts. Great.
Nice job. How much does a Hong Kong shirt cost you?
The shirts that I would get here that were about $250, I can get there for $40 to $60.
Whoa! And they're tailored.
Custom to my shape.
That's awesome. Have you ordered anything from Hong Kong lately?
Last time I ordered was probably the beginning of the year.
Okay. I'd like to share that. That'd be, if you don't mind. I'd like to get some customized ones too. That'd be great. All right. So have a focus, be genuine, tell a story, be consistent. Here, can you read number 5, please?
Get ready.
To what?
To fail.
Okay. Explain that. So if we're trying to figure out what our personal brand is, where would failure be and how would we recognize failure?
Well, when I work with people on personal branding, I like for them to really understand what their failures are and what they're afraid of.
In the past.
Yeah, their past experiences.
Exactly. Give an example.
Because when you fully know what you're afraid of, it's easy for you to go after that thing that you want even more because you know what your obstacles are. So an example is a fear of success. Maybe you're afraid of actually achieving success because what happens if you get it and you can't maintain it and then you fail, right? That's a huge one for people. People don't even realize how big the fear of success is. Another would be the fear of failure, just being afraid that it's not going to work out at all. You try, you put everything into it. And
that's mine.
Yeah. So there's so many fears. So if you know what your fears are and you put them on paper and you completely understand them, it's so much easier to create a personal brand because you can use the strengths of what you're afraid of and put it out there and show your vulnerability and then lead into the thing that you really want.
But in a lot of ways, the failure is what substantiates who you are today.
Yeah.
So if we go look at, we watched that movie the other day, Ford versus Ferrari.
Yeah.
Do you remember it? Good movie, right?
Great movie.
And we showed the process of his failures to get to that point of finding success.
Mm-hmm.
And those failures identify almost like a mound that you could stand on top of. So many of us hide our failures. By the way, I do conferences all over the world, guys. And what's really interesting, the tracks that get the most people are the failure tracks. So I did one with Fortune 500 CEOs that failed miserably and they were willing to discuss their failures. That track was the busiest of all the tracks because everybody wanted to hear about those failures.
Yeah.
So owning your failures, and if you're part of Metal on a regular basis, you hear me talk about mine all the time, from my past infidelities to getting thrown in jail for something I didn't do, by the way. I
can neither confirm or deny any involvement.
No. Darren Kavanoki and Metal got me out. But I'm just saying, I'm openly admit it because I know many of you are going through tough times. And if you had an oracle to go to saying, dude, I went through the same thing. Can you help me out? Yeah, I can. But I think my failures are what allow me to connect with you guys because then I can tell you who the expert is to fix what you're going through.
Yeah.
That's me. But be ready to fail. Okay, let's again. Number 1, focus. 2, be genuine. Number 3, tell a story. 4, be consistent. Be ready to fail. Number 5. Number 6. Create a positive impact. Back to Rick. Rick, you are all about a positive impact. Now, I gave you a challenge on Saturday when you spoke. I said you can't be political, and that's a tough one for you.
It is. Yeah, it is. I think I managed to skirt around the outside of it, I think.
I know, but that's one secret in Metal. You know, there's no politics, there's no religion or sex or gender. We don't gender bias. We don't talk about any of that because that's what binds us, I think, because we all have the same problems. Mm-hmm. In-law issues, somebody's sick in the family, money. You know, we all have similar problems all the time. Let's not have anything that divides us.
Yeah.
But your positive impact is what you personally feel strong at. You tell a good enough story for people to understand your beliefs. And you don't do it in a way that you hit them over the head and you're rude or mean. You show impactful things.
Right.
I admire that.
I also, yeah. I think it all should be a dialogue, right? I mean, I think it's fine to express strong opinions as long as you're willing to listen to other people's opinions and learn from it. I think the problem we're having now is everybody's like in their own little bubble and nobody, you know, it's that cancel culture thing where you don't want to hear anybody that's even going to challenge you. That's crazy.
That's exactly
we were listening to the New York Times Daily the other day, and they go, we want to talk about this, but we're afraid to even say it. And it was about cancer culture. And they're cancel culture. They were afraid to say it on the premise of getting canceled by people.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible. Lives are being destroyed right now because people lost their amendment right to freedom of speech.
Yeah, and cancel culture is, but what I wanted to get back at is in your personal brand, make sure you are creating a positive impact. Back to you, Brandon. I know that's what you're doing with your videos all the time. Jacob, your hand is up and you can go for it.
Yeah, so I have meetings with a lot of different kinds of people and friends from the South, friends who are preppy, friends who are like LA, wear sweatpants to a wedding. So I kind of dress differently depending on who I'm hanging out with. And so, you know, I just wanted to say that like sometimes your personal brand has to be different with specific people, potentially.
I'm going to challenge you on that.
Yeah.
28-year-old kid.
30.
30-year-old kid.
That's a compliment.
Thank you.
You can never dress up too much.
That's true.
I agree. I usually try to dress one level above wherever I'm going.
Unless you're his son who walks around the house in a kilt and a suit.
He does walk
around my house. That's not what.
No, but I'm saying is I want you to think about James Bond. James Bond. Never, no one would go, oh man, he's so sloppy. Never. You can never dress up too much.
Even when his dress shirt with the cuffs rolled is all bloody and scratched. And
still
like
looks good.
He looks hot.
Yeah, because it's like, it's like, hey, by the way, Stanley, don't you need to go? You need to get going. Stanley, pay attention to the clock.
I'm leaving in 2 minutes.
2 minutes, okay.
It's too compelling.
But you can never dress up too much. Always remember that, okay?
That's why I dress the way I do.
So Ken, something very interesting with COVID, a lot of the dry cleaners are closing saying nobody wears suits anymore.
Yeah, but you're in Utah, Troy.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Oh,
That's true.
A lot of businesses are closing.
yeah. I mean, Troy, by the way, Troy, how tall are you?
6'9".
So to find really trendy stuff sometimes could be a challenge.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's a reason I wear golf shirts and jeans all the time. Trying to find stuff with a 38 inseam, forget about it.
So Troy, what you said about the laundromats or the dry cleaners closing because of that, think about it. The world has completely shifted.
Yep.
Meaning, there are companies like Google that say they might never open again. Apple Computer has already told its employees they don't even need to worry about coming back to work to the actual facility until middle of next year. And I know this because I know people who work in both companies. So you have to understand that as people, we are now only visible online. So if someone wants to get to know you, they're going to see you in a Zoom call. They're going to see you on your website, your social media handles, whatever, Google search. So you have to make sure that whatever brand you're showing up as is the brand that represents you the best. How do you want to be seen? It's really important to really visualize, how do I want to show up? And is it authentic? Because as Jacob said, I'm different people around different things. Well, just pretend that there's only one person that can see you. What's the best version of you that you want to show up as? And that is the personal brand that you need to put yourself out there as. And if you are someone who changes constantly, that can be part of your brand. It can be an ever-shifting brand. Wasn't there a guy who every day wore a suit for a year and then the next year he wore something totally different?
One year he wore blue. Everything was blue. Everything. His car, his skis, his shirts. For an entire year, he dressed in blue. The second year, he wore tuxedos every day.
But that's his brand. Like people
every day
expect that from him. So whatever you intentionally choose to put out there, it doesn't have to be a set color or a set style. But if it's going to be inconsistency as your personal brand, then be consistent with inconsistency. So whatever you do, just be consistent.
But again, we go back to creating a positive impact. We want our brands to be important and connection. We want real connections with our brand, our personal brand. Sandy's brand is Sandy in Focus. Her website is that. Everything is around. She's a photographer and she helps people stay in focus with confidence. So her brand always exudes being in focus, always. And you will never see her on camera not looking good. No, but it's important.
Well, it happens when Ken's like, hey, look at Tom. And I'm like, ah!
No. But seriously, you have your colors on. You have your branding colors on. She's always working with inside that consistency. You know, learn from the best. And there she is right there. Okay, so creating positive impact. Next one is follow a successful example. So when we look at personal brands, I think of people that stand out because they're consistent amongst what they do. And I said James Bond because the character consistency has a flow, the character of James Bond. If you go look at a lot of, what's this guy, Ferrari, you know, the guy has good glasses, the cook, he always has the same brand, consistently, regardless if you don't like it or like it, he always looks his brand because he is his brand. So whatever that brand is that you've decided, you need to have consistency because you're genuine. Remember, if you're genuine within your brand, it's going to be easy to be who you are all the time. Always. No, you're not jumping out at this one.
Michael, you're so funny.
What did Michael say?
He said, be consistent with being inconsistent. I like that. I'm a nonconformist and that may work for me. Yes.
Yeah. Inconsistently unpredictable is unpredictably inconsistent. I get it, okay? Live your brand. Hello? Live your brand.
Totally live your brand.
Even her bird is her colors.
It is.
Even her bird that she has is her branding colors.
Yeah.
Your car is your branding color.
Yeah.
Everything you have is your branding color.
That's
so
true.
Did you one day throw everything out that wasn't your branding color?
Yes, I actually did, except for the basics like black and navy blue. They're not my branding color, but sometimes you have to wear them. I got rid of so many clothes. I had this bright orange cocktail dress.
Did it look good on you?
No, it was the wrong color for
but
my skin. It looked weird. Like it did not suit me. I don't even know why I bought it. I bought it in Hong Kong out of all places. Point is, got rid of it. I got rid of anything that didn't match my brand. And now when I go into my closet and I have to get ready for something, it's like that. Because I don't have to think about it. I don't have to worry. It's like how all the guys here have black shirts and black jeans, right? So Brandon, Michael, Mike, a bunch of Jacob, everybody. So It makes it so much easier.
We're going to go through some steps, by the way, to help you get to that brand, okay? Just want you to know all these, and I'm going to put all these inside the video later on. Okay, so next is live your brand. Okay, let other people tell your story. So what did I do when I introduced Brandon? I knew exactly what he does because his brand is easy to share. It's easy to spread because I know exactly what he does because he's conveyed it over and over again in a consistent level. On all his social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, he is exactly the same with the same message and story, always. And it's easy because that's him. He lives his brand. All right, number 10, live a legacy. Ooh, I know you're challenged on this one, right? Meaning, when I want people to always know what your brand was, your consistency of what your brand is. It's not just about explaining your brand. So for example, I just hung up with Nolan Bushnell. I talked to Nolan for a little this morning, who created Atari and Chuck E. Cheese. I talk to him every day. I know what his brand is. And if something happens in the next 30 years and Nolan's not here anymore, I could still tell you what Nolan's brand was, what he did, what he left as a legacy, what was his mission, what was his passion, what were those good things he always preached. And living a legacy is so insanely important when it comes to that. We always want to make sure we do that. You know, it's important because I think we forget that the only way we can live forever is through the stories that everyone else tells about us when we're not here. And hopefully it's a good thing.
Actually, I like what Mike Tinkle just said. Sometimes the brand becomes the legend, especially when other people introduce you as their version of you that can be stronger or better than your own. So that's powerful right there. One of the things that I teach in my Confidence Jam online program is about asking people their opinions and their perspective on you, and then believing them when it's really good. If it's bad, if it's good, yes.
So, Sandy, in focus, how do we find our personal brand? I just went through all these things that you have to stay consistent with, but how do you do it? What's the first step?
So the first step is to find what you're afraid of. So know what your fears are. Know what your failures are.
We've gone through this.
That.
So Rick, what are your fears in life? What things do you fear, Rick? Unmute yourself. Come on.
Yeah. You know, there's a Sylvia Plath story of sitting under a plum tree, and every plum in the tree represents something else she can do with her life. And the trouble is, she chooses one, she loses all the others. And she sits there paralyzed as they wither and die at her feet. It's just a really, I mean, you can tell why she committed suicide. And sometimes I feel like that. I feel like instead of choosing, no, I mean, I'm an upbeat guy, but I feel like sometimes there are so many doors you can walk through, but you actually have to decide to choose a door instead of I like the potential, but I actually have trouble committing to one of those doors. If that makes any sense.
So that's called FOMO, fear of missing out.
It is, but the problem is, I mean, the opportunities are there. It's just trying to figure out which one is actually the one that's worth which door to go through.
Because you get so committed. Whatever you do, you put 100% into it.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, it's like 18 hours a day for a year. So like, I guess that's about that. If you ask me what my biggest fear is, it's going down the wrong path when there could have been something else that was. It would be a great question for one of your group gatherings is the three things, the three opportunities you had that you did, the doors you didn't open that you were invited to, successful people who something when you hear that was it Ronald Reagan was offered the Indiana Jones role and turned it down, and Harrison Ford took it. Yep. Right. Yeah. It's like one of those. My sister-in-law is an actress, and she tells me that the hard thing about being an actor is that you get offered roles all the time. And if you take a role, you work all the time. So you're being offered things constantly. And you finally say, okay, I'm going to take that role. And the next day, Gone with the Wind comes in, but you just committed to doing some movie that's going to go nowhere because you want to keep working. So that's the kind of fear.
True. That's fear of missing out. Exactly.
Fear of missing out. But
it is. Yeah.
There's your fear. That's an interesting. So you become indecisive, but you make decisions. Because you would never have succeeded with all these great things you've done if you didn't make decisions.
Yeah. I mean, Steve Jobs invited me once to come and live inside of Next for a year to document him creating Next, and I didn't do it. I was working on a project, and I suggested one of my best friends who then made a 30-year career out of documenting companies from the inside. I'm glad he did it, but I always think, now I think backwards thinking, God, it's like, if Edison had invited you to spend a year with him and you turned it down, how dumb would that be, right?
Yeah, hindsight, right? By the way, her mother has worked at Apple for almost 35 years. We're next to Steve.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's still there.
Cool.
She's one of the last.
What's your mother's name? What's your mother's name?
May Grigsby.
You would have actually met her.
I must have met her.
Oh,
I must have met her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone knows my
At
mom.
Next, was she there? Was she there at Next too?
No, she was there with
So.
when what's his name was CEO. Come on, help me
Kelly.
out. Well, 'cause we had John on. We had John on Metal a couple of months ago, and John remembers her mother.
He's
He
like,
goes,
"Oh,
of course I know your mom. Yeah, and John's awesome. But yeah, she's been there forever.
Yeah, he's great.
So your fear is missing out. What would be your fear, Jacob?
Relative to like not taking risks in my personal brand, or specifically
You as a person, fear, like mine are fear of failure. I have fear of guilt.
wasting time and being boring or having a boring life.
Okay. How about you, Andrew? What are your fears, Andrew?
I would go with irrelevance and being forgotten. So it's
Oh.
not leaving a mark.
I have very, very similar. How about you, Mr. I'm going to always have button shirts on, Michael?
I would say fear of not leaving a mark. And part of that wrestling is when your Evite came in, I was like, oh, I'm tuning in today. This is exactly right. I am trying to figure out how to explain who I am succinctly to people. And it is a really big challenge because I have a large portfolio, but getting it down where it's easy to digest has been really challenging.
Okay, so I'm going to help you there, which is the next thing we were going to go into, past fears. The next thing to defining your personal brand is don't ask, who am I? It's not a good thing to ask. Instead, decide how you want to define yourself. That's what you should be asking. How do I define myself? So, for example, when you think back to how you were as a little child, how were you? So I was really loving and super creative. I loved animals and flowers, and I was that girl who was super curious, but I was a little shy at the same time. So who were you when you were younger? And that's who you authentically are. And then how has that changed to who you are today in the way that you're behaving and the way you show up in the world? And you have to compare them and see if they match. And if they don't match, you need to decide, do you want to be more like how you were when you were a child? And if you do, then you need to define yourself as such and live with intention.
Is there also a thing where how would people describe me?
Yeah, so that's the next step. So first, write down
That's the issue right there.
Yourself, and
Wait.
then ask people how they would describe you. So say to someone, how would you describe me to someone else? And allow them to use their own words. Pick someone that cares about you.
And they could be positive and negative.
Yeah. If it's negative, then you have to decide if those are the words, if you believe those words to be true and if you want to show up as that. And if you don't, you get to decide to change it. And if you do, then own it.
Well, that's interesting because people would say that, I'm intelligent, insightful, and I'm empathetic. And I would never use empathetic or intelligent. I just wouldn't do that. But if that's how people see me, I might as well own that because I don't have to evangelize those words anymore because that's how the public perceives me.
Exactly.
So the goal is first understand you as a person because you can't figure out your personal brand until you know the ethos of you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now what you're trying to do is try to figure out what your brand is on a professional level, correct?
Yes. And say it's, have an elevator-like pitch that's crisp enough that people can remember it and articulate it to others easily.
Have you taken John Livesey's Monday classes?
I'm taking his class.
Okay.
How I ended up at Metal was actually through John.
Oh, good, good. So John's classes on Monday are really good. So make sure you take those. So what else would you suggest then?
Even when you're trying to figure out how to describe yourself for your business, it's really important to define yourself first because those are words that you'll end up using when defining your business. So for example, when Ken had to come up with the new branding for metal, it was really important for people to understand because of who he is. He's a connector who's very heart-centric, heartfelt. So he's very empathetic. He works from his feeling. So for him to understand that about himself, that got infused into metal. It's a heart-centered men's group of men who unapologetically claim their masculinity and their manness. I made that word up, I think.
Manness.
Point is,
yes.
that word heartfelt, heart-centered, that came from him understanding how he defines himself. So go and understand how you define yourself. Look at how you were as a child and compare it to how you are now. Ask people how they would describe you. Find those words and use those words to then describe how you do your business.
And I think one of your challenges, Michael, you're coming from the content industry, right?
Yes.
And that thing's upside down.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you're probably still trying to attach yourself to what that is in the past, because you can't align with it what it is today, because it's broken. So you need to stop saying I'm that and almost create a new thing. Let me give you an example. So I do speaking all over the world. I speak on stage constantly. And I found that if I called myself a futurist, I'd get some speaking gigs. But I rebranded myself as a nexus. The word doesn't exist, by the way. I created it myself, meaning I don't look 25 years in the future. I look a year in the future. I talk about what's going to affect the office of tomorrow, not the one in the future, but only the office of 6 months from now. And everyone said, ooh, I like Nexus. That's great. And I get more speaking gigs because now it's a term that's defined by me.
Sure.
So defining what you are may not be what is a term that's utilized today. It might be your own new word, but you don't want to make it too complicated to where you have to evangelize it. Because first, think about a religion. It evangelizes before it sells it. You know, you almost have to evangelize and then sell. You don't want to have to do that. You almost want to have to just say it and everyone goes, oh, I get it. It makes so much sense. Those two words, you've collided and I connect with them and I want to hire you because of that. I don't know what those are, but be careful of attaching yourself to a broken industry. Because the content industry is broken, unless it's a newer content industry that Zoom, WhatsApp meets TikTok. I don't know what that is, but think differently. Okay, is that helpful a little? No?
It is. I've been on the technology side, so delivering content. I used to produce, and then I realized the real bang was in the distribution and the audience aggregation. So I'm trying to figure out how to explain those insights that I've had in a crisp way.
So personally, for me, if I look at someone like you, and I would put on my consultancy hat, I almost always tell people to get out of the United States. And the reason why is because when you are someone who you are and you go to another country, they look at you as the de facto expert. They go, oh my gosh, you worked with these networks, these companies. So in Africa, we were in South Africa. I'm just going to give you an example. Sandy and I, within 2 weeks, got 5,000 people in a facility in Johannesburg there. And they stuck with us for 3 days. And we told them the basic stuff, like you would never even hear there, but there's no competition. There's no Tony Robbins down in Johannesburg. So the basic stuff they heard us say, and they did it. And their lives all changed. It's like, oh my gosh, it was transformative. Because there wasn't that much noise like us down there. It was just us. So someone like you, you're competing in a place where everyone's like you. The minute you go to a different country with the expertise you have now, it totally changes. Now, the beauty is every country is doing Zoom meetings. So if you want to talk to somebody in Brazil, and so they have someone in São Paulo and in Brasilia, well, you coming in from America, it doesn't matter. They're all on Zoom calls in Brazil, even if they're across the street one another. They're not meeting locally. This is the first time in history you can compete with anyone anywhere in the world by sitting where you're at, because it's acceptable. So stop looking in your backyard and start looking in other places around the world.
Fair enough.
You know, really do that, because I just can't believe that everyone thinks hey, I'm in LA, I better look for gigs in LA. Why? All this stuff is outside LA. It's all over the world now, and you can do it because it's acceptable. Zoom now is acceptable as business. God, what an opportunity.
Exactly.
Does that help a little?
Yes, all of this today has been helpful. So.
Got it. Okay, so you asked us about our fears. How does our fears turn into what helps us with our brand?
Oh, we've gotten past that already.
Well, I don't know, because if I have a fear of failure and Rick has a fear of FOMA, how does that help our brand out?
Because you have to understand what your fears are to know what your intention is to do next. So if you know you're afraid of one thing, then you can choose to overcome that fear and tackle it in whatever it is that you're doing next. So for example, if you, like for me, I can give myself an example, it's much easier. I was afraid of success. I knew that was my fear. And knowing that that was my fear, I knew I had to overcome it. So what was the hang up of the fear of success? It was procrastination. It was doing everything else, right? Keeping myself busy. So I had to make the choice to stop and to only focus on the thing that was going to get me my end result, which was my program. And I had to face the fear of success and do the things that I needed to do to launch that program, whether it succeeded or not. So it allowed me to do that. And through that, I was able to create my personal brand at a stronger level than ever before. I launched an incredible program, and my intention of the whole entire thing was help other people, even if it's only one. And I've already helped so many people all over the world. My product isn't even finished, and people are having life-changing results. But it's because I knew what my fear was. I faced it. I launched my personal brand, and I did that thing with intention.
It's so funny that us as consultants, which many of us are here, we have a tendency to consult so well to somebody else. And then the minute someone says, well, you should follow your own advice, and you go,
the cobbler's kids have no shoes.
It's so true. And almost what I've been doing, guys, is I pretend I'm a third person. Like I'm consulting for this entity being Ken, and Ken is paying some high, I mean, I'm expensive, guys. So I'm paying those big bucks, and I'm heeding to that advice and moving forward, because I know what's necessary. You guys know what's necessary to make yourself go to the next level, you know? And I think we need to move forward. And now I go to all of you that are here. First, thanks for hanging out. Sandy's personal branding stuff really takes us to the next level. And that is, you almost need to capture that moment too of your personal brand. Once you find out what your colors are, what your dress is, what your look is, capture that moment.
Absolutely.
Own that, and own LinkedIn. Own those imageries that are up there. You know, I haven't even looked. Rick, do you have a good LinkedIn? Am I going to be disappointed? Rick?
It's okay. It's okay. It's not fantastic.
Shouldn't it be fantastic?
I'm not looking for a job, so it's really just up there if somebody wants to see background on what I do or what I've done. But I'm not trying to get hired by anybody. So it's probably boring, right?
What year was that?
1912. It's like those Wall Street Journal, the little pointless things. Yeah, I could probably update that a little bit.
It's not just about getting hired, though. It's also about your legacy, what you leave behind, right? So you want it to become
right.
Okay, here's an example. We had, who was it? Somebody that was going to be on Metal, and we had to source images for, well, this happens consistently. I'm not even going to try to point it on one person. Consistently, when we have speakers on Metal, we have to find their pictures to post in the promo materials. Oh. Their pictures are so old and horrible that it's like, what? You are an expert in this thing. You have Grammys and Emmys and ummies and yummies and all kinds of stuff. And you have this horrible picture of yourself on the internet, and the only one is this nasty picture. Like, you have to put that out there because people will source whatever is out there. And if you didn't put any good information or content out there, they're going to use the bad stuff. And that is your legacy. So create the narration, say what you want about yourself, and make sure it's good.
Rick, you're going to hate me, but I'm going to use you as an example right now. I just am.
Okay.
I'm going to use, no, there's a reason.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
So part of your personal brand, I'm going to share, let me share this. I mean, it's awesome that you're here. I appreciate it. Let's see. Right here. All right, you guys see that? Can you all see Rick's LinkedIn? I'm going to show you something real quick. Do you see this right here?
Yep.
Rick, do you see this whole area you have right here where it says CEO?
Yep.
Creative Director?
Yep.
You notice there's no imagery right here. There's no, you have a gray box.
Right.
You shouldn't have any of that.
Especially for something that's been around since 1989. Go back up.
What?
It's been January 1989
Yeah.
till present. For 31 years, you've had zero branding as an artist. How does that represent you well?
Good point. So that should be, these should be photographs.
They should be either your logo, your brand, something to represent that
Here,
company.
I'll show you mine just to give you an example. If you notice, you know,
Yeah, please.
So if you could see, here's some imagery right here. My story is all told from my point of view. If you notice, every one of these has an image that's connecting. Do you see that? So from Oprah to Hyperloop to Winning Edge, there's a graphic or an image that's attached to it. And that's really important, especially on who you are.
Yeah.
Your brand is about imagery. And if you don't have proper...
Yeah, you're right. It's a little lame. It's pretty lame. Yeah.
So, Rick, if I were to write an article about you or feature you on my podcast, and I didn't want to disrupt you with like, can you send me a picture? And so I went on the line and I found an old picture of you. Would that represent you well?
Probably not. No, you're right.
That's what
Should
happens.
be a little more, slightly more recent.
Every day that happens.
I'm always on this side of the camera. I'm very rarely on the other side. So there's one picture I used for like 30 years.
It says a lot about, and I respect you so much, and to see your brand continue to grow because you've done so much since that old picture. You as a human has done so much more. Yeah. And it's true.
And that goes for all of you.
Yeah.
And that's our story.
Thank you.
Today, guys, we really appreciate you all hanging out with us. And I really, really hope that you guys enjoy the metal experience and the family that's out there. And we'll see you all next time. Thanks a lot, everyone. Talk to y'all soon.
All right, take care. Bye-bye. Thanks.